it possible we could do number 9 though, because it's 7:42 and I have to leave at 8 o'clock, and this is in my single member district, so I would like to vote on this project because I have to leave at 8 o'clock.
All right. Can we now hear from Chesapeake Climate Action Network? Jeremy Lowry.
Thank you for disregarding my request.
How's it going, everybody?
I'm good.
Good to be in this ANC. I'm from Petworth, so I'm not too, I know.
I'll keep
Oh, come on, we're good. I guess come outside.
Make it quick.
But I used to live off of Rhode Island Avenue on Ebar Street for a while. And I'm really excited to be out here to talk to y'all today. I work for Chesapeake Climate Action Network, and I'm an organizer. And this is my colleague, Camilla. She also works for Chesapeake Climate Action Network. We're going to quickly talk to y'all about a campaign we're currently working on. It's an environmental campaign. We consider it an environmental justice campaign. We all know that Washington, D.C. Is a Democratic town, and we believe that here in D.C. we definitely could be at the forefront of the move to prevent climate change for our nation. Not only that, but also have one of the healthiest and most environmentally friendly cities in the world, right? And I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm a Washingtonian. I'm from Ward 8. I'm Anacostia, born in Anacostia neighborhood. And I know firsthand what it's like to grow up here in Washington, D.C. and grow up in a school system that had a lot of lead in the waters, grew up around a lot of construction, a lot of polluted backyards. The ponds we played in when I grew up were very polluted. And so that really caused me to really jump into the fight to prevent pollution and climate change here in the city. And that's the reason why we're working on a carbon campaign to roll back carbon pollution in the city, to make big polluters pay by putting a fee on carbon for some of the biggest corporations here in the city. And that's why one of the reasons why we're out here today is to win the support of different ANCs around the city for this campaign. It's a carbon fee and dividend campaign where we put a fee on carbon on big polluters and give the dividends back to residents in the city. Camilla will talk to you a little bit more about that. And it's a campaign that just getting started, you know, and so one reason why we're presenting is not just to be here and tell you, okay, this is what we're going to do, but we would love feedback and involvement from community members and also ANC representatives as well, because we believe that we can develop policy from the ground up and not from the top down, and that's how it's supposed to be, right? And so I'm going to let Camilla talk to you a little bit more about the policy.
Great. Thanks, Jeremiah. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for sharing your time, and thank you to the commissioners for making this space available. So this issue is very near and dear to my heart. I've been working on climate issues for the last 11 years or so, and the reason I got involved is that I really wondered whether the world would be safe enough for my generation to have kids, and that's increasingly a question because of what we're seeing of climate impacts on our food, on our water, on our health. And I think that that is the issue that's very relevant to us in DC, with the increase in the number of hot summer days that are too much for the metro to run, too much for people to go outside, so many more cases of kids being and everyone being sent to the hospital with asthma and other attacks that are brought on by pollution, exacerbated by the heat that's coming on from, of course, not just DC residents, but everyone we're seeing worldwide. However, the United States is overwhelmingly responsible for creating climate change, and I think that under the very disturbing Trump administration that's going to try to roll back so much of the progress we've made on issues of sustainability and environmental justice, it's really up to all of us in this room to take a lead and say, well, if you're all not going to do much in the White House, we're gonna take care of this problem right under your nose. So that's what we're hoping to win your support. The idea behind putting a fee on carbon is really old. Dozens of jurisdictions around the world, including cities, have passed laws like this it's a very simple solution. It's the simplest solution to climate change that there is. The problem is that big polluters are able to use our shared atmosphere as a dumping ground for free, which if you think about it is completely ridiculous given that you and I all pay to take our trash to the curb, right? The byproduct of so much of the energy and products that we use is carbon pollution that warms the atmosphere, but they don't account for that cost that we all bear in their business models. So it's socialized. We all are paying the cost when dirty energy companies do business in the form of our health, in the form of our clean water and crop failures and all the rest that we're seeing, right? So the solution is to charge companies for the pollution that they're putting into our air and water. And that means that clean energy and all the ways that we could live will finally have a fair playing field to compete. So that's the idea behind putting a price on carbon. Is just to make it possible for the way of doing business that we want to see in the world that takes care of the people on the planet to have a fair playing field, which it doesn't have right now. When you do that, when you charge companies to pollute our shared world, we not only see a big transition to clean energy and better ways of living, but also the government collects revenue. And what we're proposing is that this be an economic justice campaign that sends that revenue back to the residents of DC. And what you would see if we do that is that the majority of DC residents will actually be making money off of this, because large polluters spend more money on energy than low-income households that generally pollute less. Okay, great. So that's the basic idea, is that we want to charge polluters and send the revenue back to DC residents. I'll take the last 2 minutes for questions.
How do we do that?
How and the mechanics? So it's a really simple policy that we would pass through the city council with your support. Just like a sales tax or other form of tax, polluters like Exelon, say, would be paying the city for each ton of carbon and the energy that they sell. The city would collect that revenue, and then maybe on a quarterly basis, you would see through either a bank transfer or a paper check in the mail that revenue go right back to your household. Does that help a little bit?
I think I'm asking, how do you regulate or how do you monitor the amount of carbon that a business?
Oh, great.
Not just a simple answer.
Yeah, that's known. The amount of energy that utilities sell to within the city is a known number, and so you would multiply the amount of energy by the amount of pollution per ton that's being emitted, which any engineer can kind of calculate on the back of their hand, basically, and then that would give you the amount of revenue that is owed to the city. And I'd be happy to discuss that with you further. It's I can assure you that it happens all over the world, and it's definitely a pretty transparent process. I'm not sure who to take questions from. Commissioner?
So I just want to know what's the ask, like how can we help?
Oh, great.
What is it that we can do? So if we are in support of it, how do we help?
Great. So we have a coalition in support of this policy, and you all are only the second ANC that we've presented to. Last night was our first, and what we're asking for is ANCs to sign on in support of this idea. And then as we shape the legislation, we'll come back to you and ask whether the details are still in your favor, and then you'll have the opportunity to present why this issue is important to you before the council when it comes time to testify.
So we would love for you, the ANC to put on the agenda for next month, or next time to vote on it, potentially.
Do you have materials that you can share with
Yeah,
us?
we have a lot of materials in my book bag. I'll share with you before we leave.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
so-
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thank everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We appreciate
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we move Commissioner Lewis's presentation to number 10 now. All those in favor?
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis?
I'm not leading the meeting, but come on, guys.
The consolidated fund for map 500 and 531 Street.
Yes,
No, we-
this.
Yeah,
email.
Would you like to?
No, I have it right there. You see it.
Thank you for bringing it though.
But Commissioner Lewis, it was an item that we heard the presentation before, correct?
And you guys said you needed clarification, so they're coming back. We weren't able to do a full support, even though that is what the community is requesting. So you guys asked them to come back. That's why they're here tonight.
And they're clarifying.
I don't, the minutes should have that reflected in it.
Matt, would you like to?
Yes.
So,
So, can you guys, share the issues that, we needed clarification on from the last time? And you can present any updates
Yes.
also, please.
yes, of course. So, as a, first of all, thank you. I'm Matthew Hart. I'm with Elcor. This is my colleague Dennis Connors, who's with SK9. He's with the architect. As the commission mentioned, we presented last month for the first time in front of the full commission. We had been speaking with Commissioner Lewis for some time, and the commission expressed some additional questions on kind of what the quality of the materials for the building were going to be, and a little bit more specificity on the design, since it was the first time that the commission had seen the full design of our building. This way. One of the things that we also feel that we'd like to point out to the commission and the community is that Elcor, we are a long-term holder and developer of real estate, which means that we don't build buildings and then flip them and do it as cheap as possible and sell it for as much as possible. We invest in the communities, and it's our investment initiative to hold on for these properties as long as possible, which means that when we are designing the building and specifying materials, we are doing a nice version of everything, so that way it's going to hold up over time, which is good for obviously the public, it's good for the city, and as long-term owners, it's good for us as if it was our own home that we were investing in. And so specifically what is up there, and anybody's welcome to take a look at it at some point. We can leave those here, guys, if people are curious.
Or-
Yes, we can, of course.
Actually, we can pass them around.
yeah,
We
so-
don't touch them,
so-
you just pass them.
These are just samples of, this is the brick that we're gonna be using, or the Ranger brick. And Dennis, can you explain why this is the nice version of the brick? That it's not a veneer we're gonna be using, it's the full.
Sure. We're gonna be using like a full body iron spot type brick, something that's very rich in quality. And the idea, what has developed in the last year or so, is that you see a lot of projects that are being developed in Washington DC that are very, very similar. They're very contemporary looking, using a lot of materials that are not natural. And Matt, as a client, came very early on in the process and said he wanted to do something very authentic and create a project that was in of itself a counterpoint in the Union Market development, as opposed to some of the other development that's being put in place. So we looked at a lot of historic buildings with age, and we want to design something that will feel right from the start that it's been there for 100 years and it's going to be there for another 100 years. So we paid a lot of attention to the type of brick, the type of windows, the high ceilings. This building has one less floor than a typical building of this size would have. The ceilings are 10 feet tall, the windows are 10 feet wide. And we really spent a lot of time looking at the retail of this building and making sure that it has a full height so that the retail is very successful when it does come into place. So those are some.
Yeah, and one of the other things I would point out is the window design here. You typically see this in a